Susan brought me into a room shortly after I became a Jashin. Susan knew that I wanted to experience sex with a virgin, so she brought one for me. A young girl was restrained, and Susan explained to me that she was for me. I approached the girl and inquired as to her age. Susan said 12, maybe 13. I was shocked. I said, "No, not like this." Susan ordered a man to come over and to bring the gun. He put the gun to the girl's head. Susan said, "Look how pretty she is. Don't you want You don't want a perfectly good virgin to go to waste, now do you?" Susan decided to try this again. I was backed up, and Susan exclaimed that she brought a virgin for me. I and Susan participated in the rape of this young girl. The girl was shot afterwards. I was told that if I wanted to pass their program, that I would have to execute someone. They knew I had a hard time killing people, and this is what they wanted me for. I was placed into a room with Susan, Roy, a doctor, and the gunman from the probation office. I was told that this man is your target. I ran up to him, brought him to his knees, and took the gun from the rear of my lower back. I placed the gun on the left side of the man's head. I corrected slightly because Roy was where the exit would have been. I paused for a second but had no feeling or emotion when I squeezed the trigger. I handed the gun over to Susan, and they were surprised that I had shot the man. They were unsure if I was able to do it. I was told after a beating that they would let me go after I signed some paperwork, and gave them my password to my cell phone. They told me to make my signature on the paper like the one on my driver's license. I was forced to sign paperwork that I consented to my detainment at a psychiatric facility in Langley. They decided that they might as well get paid for what they did to me. They took my MSP and filled out the forms. I was marked for the duration of 1 day, when in fact I was in their facility for over 1 week. I signed documents given to me by the agency that said it was valid for the duration of my life. I was placed into a wheelchair and was loaded into the SN hospital transfer van. I was able to... Susan accompanied me in the hospital transfer van. She was drying her hair as we had just left the shower prior to entering the van. At some point during the drive, someone behind me put earmuffs on me, put blacked out goggles over my eyes, and a red gag ball with black leather restraints over my mouth. We were inside an office when my goggles and earmuffs were removed. Susan was in her office along with 2 other individuals. There was a commotion, and someone put his hands over my ears. I saw Susan resetting the clock in her office. Susan sat at her desk, and a man took his hands off my ears. He then punched me in the right side of the back of my head. Susan told me that I could leave now. As I was walking down the hall to exit the offices out the west door, I saw a girl crying, and I suspected that she saw me being transported into the building. I looked at my BlackBerry and thought it was odd because it was a Thursday around 11 a.m. when I had my appointment with Susan on a Wednesday. I did afternoons, not mornings. I had work the same day, which was odd because I deliberately never make appointments on work days with Susan. I didn't want to think about what happened, and I began to seal my mind in order to protect myself. I made my way home to 11671 216 7th Ave. As I was getting off the 410 railroad bus, as my phone rang, I answered it, and it was Susan Stapleton doing a poor impersonation of my girlfriend. Just as with my previous calls, the information on my phone was incorrect. "Hey, it's Alexa," Susan says. "Where are you?" 1, my girlfriend doesn't call me. It's called texting. 2, she doesn't ask me where I am, and she doesn't sound like Susan Stapleton. I told her that I was at home. She began to freak out over the phone. "At home? Like at the door?" Oh, phone dialing in the background. I ran up to the entrance, and I ran up to level 2, waited in the hall, just a door from my apartment. Phone ringing in my apartment.